Welcome to the program. This is your host, Greg Fenton. Each week, we explore topics and ideas related to the experience of people with conflict and look to promote the profession of conflict resolvers. We are available to connect with by email at fentonmediation@gmail.com or by calling 647-227-4734. Visit us at our Facebook page to like us and Facebook group page to ask to become a member. Also visit the YouTube channel called Fenton Mediation to see videos of past shows. Listen to podcasts of Mediation Station on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Please follow us at our Twitter account, which is at Fenton Mediation. Let me share some information regarding an option. There's a public service announcement for people who are looking to be accredited as family mediators. So there's another option available for individuals looking to become accredited as a family mediator in Ontario. Ontario Association for Family Mediation, OAFM, is now providing that 80 of the 100 hours of practicum experience can be completed using simulated cases. The final 20 hours of the practicum must be completed with real clients. Family Mediation Practicum Ontario is providing, through its OAFM approved course, this experience starting later this September 2021 by using realistic case scenarios with the 80 hours counting towards accreditation. All classes are online with real-time feedback. For more information, check out the web page called Family Mediation Practicum.pccs.ca. The conversation today is titled Abuse, Trauma, and Mental Health, My Transformation with Recovery. And with me today will be, very shortly, Miranda Wong. The program today is live, of course, each Sunday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time through Zoom. We will engage in conversation with everyone able to listen and watch. Microphones and webcams will be closed. If anyone wants to contribute, there are two options. One is to see the chat icon as a bubble at the bottom center of your screen for you to click to then type in a comment or question and click to send. Or you can click on the reactions icon that is also on the bottom center of your screen, and then click on the hand icon for us to see you want to speak. We will open your microphone only for you to share your comment or question and then close the microphone again. The show is being recorded for both video and audio purposes and will be available for public access on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts afterwards. So joining me for conversation tonight is Miranda Wong, and we're going to have a conversation on abuse, trauma, and mental health, my transformation with recovery. Hi, Miranda, welcome to the program.
Hi, Greg.
Thank you for visiting with me for our conversation today. How about you start by sharing something about yourself that you think people will be surprised by, or something they have absolutely no knowledge of knowing about you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm just going to read off some notes because it's my first time, and also I do have stage fright, so please be patient. I am a survivor of multiple traumas and abuse. I'm an advocate for abuse and mental health. That is, an advocate against abuse and mental health. I'm a poet. I'm a public servant. I am a disabled person. I'm a person with learning disability. I have PTSD, ADHD. I'm a mother of 2 grown children, but I only have access to the younger one. I was once divorced. I was later a widow. And I'm now in a very healthy relationship. Thank goodness.
Okay. That's a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And that's, you have a richness of experience that, of course, we're going to unpack through the course of our conversation tonight to better understand and appreciate what you have experienced, what you are experiencing, and what you're looking to do from those experiences, all connected to the experiences of abuse, trauma, and mental health, mental illness. So what are some of the things that you value in your life?
Mhm. I value freedom. I value to be heard and respected, equality, love, friendship, empathy, and compassion.
Human, a lot of human needs and interests.
Yes.
You know, one of the things I've known about you, we met a few years ago,
Mhm.
and I know you're a person who puts pen to paper. You're a poet. So what does poetry mean to you?
Poetry means a way of releasing the hurt as well as the good from my soul. It's a creative hobby that I enjoy, but it's a medium through which I hope to use and develop my voice to help others. It's a
So,
self-care tool, but
yeah.
it also serves as a means through which I can communicate and serve.
So in some ways it's cathartic. It's a way to get out from inside, to release
Mhm.
what's been the lived experience as to your feelings and your thoughts,
Yes.
and then to have a purpose and intention once that it's externalized to be a means for other people to somewhat connect with, maybe, you know, shared
Yes.
experiences in ways. I'm not saying it's
Mhm.
experience, it's shared in some way. You know, we have this concept that you're not alone, that people feel when they go through many struggles and circumstances, that they're isolated, they're marginalized, they're alone. Yet we try to extend an
Mhm.
openness to say you are not alone. So
Def-
you have a poem that we're going to go through as the course of the conversation. You're going to share some of your
Yes.
poems, and we're going to start with one called "Minding Myself."
I don't have it memorized, so I'm going to read off the screen here.
It's okay.
Always living hidden, not minding me. I had to move my world to serve or else. Life appeared perfect, no one could tell. If only he was a better man. Looking back, there was no other way. Always being told how blessed we were. A family of 4, everything provided for. Pins and needles, it was hell at home. Oh, why couldn't he love our children and me? Was it so wrong to seek happiness? We deserved more, but he wouldn't change. I gathered my strength, sought another life for us. Words were threats, and fear was our friend, constantly told how undeserving I was. My kids and I feared what he'd do to us. I couldn't breathe, eyeing for the door. If only he would care, we'd have a chance. We deserved more. It was not right. He played us well, insecurity and all. Choked was I, no freedom in sight. Oh, why couldn't he love our children and me? Was it so wrong to seek happiness? We deserved more, but he wouldn't change. I gathered my strength, sought another life for us. We tried to run, but he cornered us. How dare I break up a perfect home? Gaslighting me, I was to blame. Guilt tripped me at every turn. Looking back, 10 years on, I'm reassured. We broke free and we survived. Chose love. Learned to love ourselves and each other. And never have we needed him ever again. Oh, why couldn't he love our children and me? Was it so wrong to seek happiness? We deserved more, but he wouldn't change. I gathered my strength, sought another life for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me check in with you to ask you,
Yes.
what feelings or thoughts are going through you right now as you've expressed this, as you shared this?
A lot of emotion. They're triggers. Even though this has been more than, if I do the math, it would have been close to 15 years ago. We escaped. But it's still a lifelong process.
It takes its roots within, and it attaches itself, and you have to work with that in whatever way, and as you've done.
Yes.
I one word that came to mind is you escaped. You just used that word.
Yes.
Why do you define things as an escape?
I didn't know until escaping with my child years later and after divorce and everything, that the experience I had with this individual, my first husband, was life living with a narcissist. It was hell. We were brainwashed. We were misled to think that we deserved and we caused the mistreatment, the abuse, the trauma, everything. So this is a very current set of lyrics that I wrote after I heard a song. I'm not entitled to use the melody to it, but hopefully someday I'll find a musician to put a melody to it. My poetry and the lyrics, I hope, my goal is to offer my voice, offer my words, to help somebody else who can't verbalize what they're going through.
So I just want to bring to light a couple of things that are in the chat. So, wow, intense. Thank you for sharing. And then I would try to connect you with a musician to create a melody for you.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Offering your words helps others, or for sure. So yeah, this can be a means to create even more opportunity. We're focusing the conversation today on abuse, trauma, and mental health as preludes to creating a quality of life that you have for yourself. Let's start things one step along to build the conversation together and all of these focuses. What has been your lived experiences with abuse, focusing on your childhood?
I survived child neglect from gender discrimination and bullying by gifted siblings because, unbeknownst to me until about 7 years ago, after I advocated for myself and got tested, I have a diagnosis of learning disabilities. So that gave me a light bulb. There is a reason why I was bullied, why I was mistreated. On top of that, we also went through poverty and refugee life for 2 years. And in those 2 years, we also lived without knowing that there would be tomorrow. There were more than 3,000 of us on a cargo ship in Hong Kong, the end of 78 and until mid 1979, for 6 months until we shipwrecked it and were allowed to be on land. So in a capsule, it started with trauma in various ways that left me an easy target. That's my take of it.
What would you identify as people focusing on you as a target? How did they identify you as a target? That's my question.
No, I don't mean people. I don't see people as evil. I'm just saying that of my lived experiences, I was an easy target to the first person who had caused me trauma in my adult life.
I want you to appreciate this is a non-judgmental.
Yes.
You are free to express yourself.
Yeah.
I want to encourage that, to even go to celebrate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as you navigated through your childhood, the lived experiences of those circumstances and those times rooted themselves too within. And how have these childhood experiences impacted you as you transitioned into adulthood?
Thank you. That's a really deep question. They left me questioning my identity, my self-worth, the meaning of my life, and the inequality. They taught me, my childhood experiences taught me insecurity and instability. This led me to believe that I was undeserving of love and care, to think that I was meant to be submissive and play a role of a woman and not a person.
So how would you equate or differentiate between a woman and a person? How would you distinguish the two?
When I refer to that, my distinction between the two is that I was misled to think that I'm first a woman, and that was my identity in the role of a family setting, in the role of a marriage, in the role of parenting. I was not given the choice or the regard that I was an individual.
So someone external to you identified, labeled you, and put you in this quote box.
Yes.
And that's where you felt you existed within.
Yes.
And I don't use the word lived, I said existed,
Yes.
which I know for me, and I have a sense of understanding to some level what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it's about existing, not necessarily living. And living is more connected to what one ideally wants to have happen in one's life.
Mm-hmm.
So what has happened with you during your adult life regarding trauma?
After my loving father left early, in my early 20s, I ended up marrying this man who I didn't know, who I hardly knew, who raped me multiple times during marriage, mentally tortured me for 17 years. I did escape with one of my 2 children because it was dire straits. I needed to get out in order to get the mental health help. The father banned us from making our medical appointments, getting help for the son. And it was when our son started being violent towards me that it became a draw. It was a no-brainer to me. I had to get out. I feared every single day that we would potentially not see the next day. Severe mental abuse was inflicted on all of us, to me directly, to them indirectly, because they were witnesses to seeing that it was okay for me and them to be bullied. That was our reality. Let me just read back here so I'm not missing other points. We endured much trauma, mental illness, shattered self-esteem, and insecurity. It wasn't until later, as I mentioned earlier, that I found out inadvertently and also, well, actively researching that the person, the man I married and stayed married to for the sake of the children, was a narcissist. I felt that he brainwashed me to believe I deserved the torture I endured in that marriage and caused me to internalize much damage and sabotage to my identity of self and also the identity of my children. I fear still for my son because after he lived with me for many years, he returned to live with his father. And right away, the father took away all his mental health medication. And soon after that, my daughter stopped connecting with me altogether. So I fear for their well-being.
Is it okay for me to ask their ages?
Sure. The older one is around 26 on her own. The younger one just turned 20 last year.
And is it the younger one who was exhibiting the behavior against you that saw from their father?
Yes, the violence. I experienced 8 years of being beaten by my own son. And it wasn't until the end when I followed through with the consequence and called the cops on him. And it was all one talk. That's all it took by visit of 2 cops. Just a talk, no arrests whatsoever. That's all it took to end it.
How old was your son when he started doing that?
He was very young. He was 8-ish. He did not know better. My ex-husband was a narcissist, unbeknownst to us, and he had huge anger issues.
So I want to refer to the chat. A couple things. Gentle people are easy targets. That happened to me as a child with relation to the person who's written that. And she's added as well, I'd like to know how you found the strength to leave with your children. Where did you go? Start with the first one. How'd you find, what connected with you in order for you to make the decision that you needed to get out?
I felt that I had to step up because for some reason I believe that nothing could be worse than the hell we were in. I had to step up to protect my kids and I. I held on to the belief that we deserve better. I saw that since that person had no sense of right and wrong, my children needed me. I settled and stayed when the pain and suffering was being inflicted on me, but when it came to my own children displaying anger, I couldn't tolerate it. I bit my tongue and just treaded on, plan an escape route, look for help, find another way out. I didn't have any family support. My family were against me. They were manipulated by my then husband, and they were tricked to turn on me, using tactics to pressure me to not put the 2 extended families through divorce and breaking their image of success, cohesiveness, community. And that even required me to, for several years, shut down my own family because I was getting harassing calls every day and they were repeating what he was brainwashing them to, like lies that that I was an evil person.
How does culture play into any of this?
A lot. and gender socialization, unfortunately, that you're with that person, and particularly women, they were taught to believe, or at least in my understanding myself, I can only speak for myself, I was taught to believe that there was no point in my father or other people sharing, teaching the girls skills, because the girls were to grow up and be married off and have another person's surname and be that person's spouse. In this culture, let me just give an example. My children and their cousins did not know their grandparents' names, did not know their relatives' names. All they knew those relatives' identities by were uncle number 4, let's say, uncle number 7, aunt so-and-so. No names were referred to. And in the community, I was referred to sister and my then husband's first. I was not known by my own name.
What is the reason for that you know of?
I do not know. I guess with the understanding that I was there to serve as the spouse and the mother.
So it's a role in some way to
Yes.
being a human being.
Yes.
So when you decided to escape and go out with your son,
Mhm.
where, referring back to the question, where did you go?
I wasn't allowed to take my children away with me. I was threatened by him with threats of his own suicide. So it inferred threats to us that we were going to be next. And that if I dare to take my children with me, I was never ever going to set my eyes on them. So I had to stay there. Prior to that, he forced me to sleep on the floor, on a cold floor for 9 months, because I objected to being raped. And my children were not allowed to share their beds with me. Thinking back though, I should have been stronger and left with them regardless to a shelter.
I'm not going to impose on you judgment on your behavior and how you see yourself in relation now to then. If I could say, you did the best that you could at the time you were experiencing things, and you have to be kind to yourself in some form.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now? I'm doing check-ins with you.
Thank you. Very warm. Triggered. But it's very helpful to have it out, to have it spoken out of me. It's reliving part of the existence, if you will, for lack of a better name. But I intended, and I have all the intention of this story so somebody else can relate and have the strength to go through it. I survived. I'm standing here to speak of the incident.
And I will project something onto you. I had a show over a year ago, and it was like, it's a continuum of affect, and it's got 3 stages. There's the victim, there's the survivor, and there's the thriver. The person who takes their lived experiences and reframes them into something from that negative hopelessness, helplessness, into something more positive. especially about themselves. You empower yourself. And I'm hearing, you know, your intention is to provide a space for other people to empower themselves. That's to be celebrated.
Thank you.
How has the combination of, you know, the abuse, the trauma, and the mental health connected?
Sorry, can you repeat that for me?
How has the combination of the childhood experiences and the adulthood experiences with abuse and trauma connected with your mental health?
Complex PTSD, anxiety, insomnia, shattered self-esteem, and a lack of sense of belonging. These things affected my health, made me work extra hard to compensate for and to affirm the worth of my contribution. Life has been exhausting at times.
So what type of mindset did you develop, have you developed to try to make sense of the abuse and the trauma?
Good question. Here's my attempt to answer that very deep question. I learned to be assertive and inquisitive. Find details to lessen the feeling of helplessness and feel like I can go on. I managed the down times, urges to give up even at times, because I had to realize that mental illness is an outcome of trauma and abuse, which becomes a disease or a medical condition outside of my own control and requires mental help. I prayed. I focused on the meaning of my name that my loving Father gave me. And I said to myself, those who tormented me would win if I gave up and gave in. Doing these things helped me rebound and regain some sense of control. I did not want the tormentors to have the last laugh.
You are your power. So I want you to read another one of your poems. First, let me share a comment from the chat. I'm not sure I'd be able to forgive the family's lack of support for you. I have a long memory myself. Your family should have been there for you. Me, I actually left my country due to many hurts and moved to Canada in 1985. You know, we do what we can when we can feel that we can do. How about you share your next poem, Believing in Yourself?
This is after I heard the song as well. It goes like this. When times get rough, feeling down and small, all you know to do is cry. You know no other way. You're not alone. No, I'm proof of that. My life's turned around ever since I trusted the beacon that is in me. It had set me free. Trust in your inner strength and beauty. It will set you free. When you believe in yourself, nothing will be so hard. You'll find a way, I'm sure. I did and believe you can. Be in control and take the reins back. Conquer all challenges that come your way. Trust in your inner strength and beauty. You through. Awaken your inner glory. Let yourself be free. When you believe in yourself, nothing will be so hard. You'll find a way, I'm sure. I did and believe in you. Believe you can. Be in control and take the reins back. Conquer all challenges that come your way. Trust in your inner strength and beauty. It will pull you through. Awaken your inner glory. Let yourself be free.
How do you try to create each of the poems that you do create?
I was told to set aside time, which I can't manage for the life of me because I have the ADHD. I can't focus in one spot at times. Another good tip is to fight the writer's block and hesitance as well as overwhelm of fronting emotions, especially for someone like me who've had multiple traumas. To jot down a few words that comes to your mind, feelings, what annoys you, anything at the moment. Surprisingly, writing anything gets easier with practice. Do it without intending who you are writing it to, and allowing yourself to crumble the piece of paper all up and even throw it out will help too. I needed to get the words, the feelings, the frustrations, the anger at times out of my own head and essentially out of my heart. Taking a pause from whatever you are doing, except while driving, cooking, changing diapers, of course. Slowing down your breathing and writing go a long way in my own healing. Lastly, not the least, acknowledging my emotions, thoughts, words, and ideas made me feel grounded and in control, being present. Otherwise, I felt and were taught to believe that I was no one.
So how do you decide or determine what the focus is for each poem? Or is it something you just start express yourself and then it just comes to you whatever way?
I don't have an intention when I write. At times, it may be just as I went through the day and snap, something just clicked and it came. I often say, oh no, I'll remember, I'll do it later. It never comes back. So I learned the hard way. So I thought, okay, just a second, give me 2 minutes. Let me write it down and then I'll come back to it. But most importantly, the journaling, which I also don't do, but in a way, poetry is a form of journaling and writing. Even if you need to scribble some things on a sticker note, people say, but I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write. If you speak, if you can think, if you can say, if you can respond, if you can sing, anything like that is all about words.
Expression.
Expression. I fear to write. My first poem was in the form of a diary entry. I purposely feared my then husband would read. So I thought, how about, I never knew how to write poetry. I thought, how about I do it in a way that almost pretend as if it's a poem so that in case he digs into my stuff, he wouldn't know what I'm saying.
Right.
And it turned out to be a poem. So I have no intention at times what I'm writing. It's just something I just have to get it out because I'm so frustrated. And hopefully this might mean something to others.
Well, I think it does communicate, it can be what I hear is spontaneous, in the moment, random, and you connect with those moments and you try to take advantage of the opportunity to get this out, or at least put into a formal place where you can in the future refer back to it. Yeah. What happened for you in terms of your relationships, especially the intimate ones? How has that impacted you?
I've tried online dating multiple times, more than 10 times. I will admit that. Several relationships later, I'm in a happy place now. I would say this is the third time, and hopefully third time is a charm. Fingers crossed, right? There are good and bad stories to that, including scammers. I've been scammed, fakers, players, and people who aren't so ready for love or commitment. It took courage. I'm just going to read off because I have a lot of thoughts
Sure.
right now.
Absolutely.
It took courage, multiple trials and tribulations, daring to learn and love, and practice at picking up myself and keep trying again. I learned what I want and need, what I can contribute, that I am capable of giving and receiving love, that I'm deserving of love, and most importantly, what I don't want and I don't need. I have also been told that one may have to go through 20 or more wrong persons and learning from what didn't work to get closer to the one person who is right for you.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of journeying. Reading
And by
from.
the way, sorry,
Go
to
ahead.
interject
No,
my
go ahead.
ADHD. When I say victims, I don't mean that I dislike or hate, which is a very strong word, men. I love men too. But when I refer to victims, they both, in my mind, applicable to both men and women, because I've known friends and acquaintances who are men who were also abused. So I understand it's not a
Gender specific.
right. It's not a gender specific or dominant event.
I hear you and I understand that.
Mhm,
I know too from my work in the court and the family system
mhm,
that the predominance of the people who are the abusers are males, and the people who are on the receiving end of that abuse are females.
mhm.
That's what I will say. Though, of course, I for sure I acknowledge that men are also the focus of the abuse too at times.
Mhm.
Right. Reading from the chat, beautiful poem, very inspiring. And then in reference to you reaching out to try to connect with somebody
Oh.
for an intimate relationship. So glad to hear. Third time is the charm. Good to mention this. Many wonderful men out there for sure. What occurred for you to try to deal with the experiences of abuse, trauma, and mental health to realize there is another you that was not happening? That light bulb, that realization.
Mhm. Several things. Again, I'll try to read here. But if I may, just a moment, I just need to put this back on because my neck is killing me again.
Do what you need to do.
Thank you. And don't be alarmed, those participants and other people out there. I do have a neck disability, so I do have to wear it at times. Going back to the question.
Do you want me to restate it?
No, I recall I was referring on my screen too. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Two things. One of which is that I couldn't pick my family. So I had to grieve their loss as if they were dead for a number of years, to disengage temporarily and be able to set boundaries and limits. It was a very harsh blow and realization to me, but that was one of them. The second broadest category for me is acceptance. Acceptance that I was a broken person who still have broken parts and must find acceptance from within, and relying on others' acceptance for my peace, happiness, identity, or purpose. These light bulbs gave me a sense of relief, helped me know what I could do to get help, and work towards getting broken things fixed.
Mhm. How do you connect with broken things getting fixed?
Recovery.
Yeah.
A lot of things. Soul searching, self-care, self-love, humanity, self-identity, self-discovery, and sense of belonging and purpose in life. I believe that despite trauma and everything, I have a spot here on earth, whether it was given to me for some grand purpose or small purpose, I have a reason for being here, or multiple reasons, I would hope to think. And with in mind, I use recovery as a necessity for me to get closer to fulfilling my life's purpose.
There's intention and purpose there to make sense of what's happened in the past, to
Yes,
provide a space for yourself to create for the future.
yes. Thank you.
So what have you involved yourself in terms of to deal with all that you've been dealt?
This is a very long-winded answer. Heads up, sorry. Indulgence, everyone. Soul searching, research for answers, self-advocacy, making a safety plan, seeking counseling, medical help, and a divorce lawyer, reading self-help tools, writing and giving forward. All these things are self-empowering practices of self-care and self-love. And I can give examples, but I don't know whether there's time to go into them right now. But broad categories I can refer to if you.
Share something, please.
Thank you. I had to ask questions why my kids and I had to bear the brunt of being abused. It was about bullying. Why did we deserve to be treated that way? The next one, learning to be strong, to acknowledge and accept my feelings, because we were being manipulated and gaslit a lot. And the other broad category is doing things to take charge and move forward.
How would you identify taking charge?
Advocacy and better parenting. That is, I got medical help for my child and myself, mental illness and all. Finding community resources to put us in this 10-session meditation-based type of group counseling, where at first we are together, but then the children are in a specialized group while the adults get much needed education. Getting help even through the hospital systems for myself and my son, because my son was displaying anger management issues. Going through divorce, I struggle a lot with fearing poverty, fearing that I was not going to be able and capable of providing for my children and I. So the act of pursuing and going through the divorce, managing my own home, my own finances and life, keep going with pursuing and being in romantic relationships, believing that I deserve love, developing close relationships with close circle of friends, and the relationships outside of what I have always been taught to be the family unit, my own extended family. I learned to find other ways to fill a void that I would not be able to find.
That was, the void, the connection with that was like the external imposing that on you, and then you fit yourself within that because for various reasons you felt you had no option. That was your reality.
Since then, I do have a very good relationship with my family, but unfortunately, due to lack of education and unwillingness on their part, they ignore and gaslit me when I've attempted multiple times to reveal I have these various conditions. I have learning disability. This is what what happened to me, bullying during childhood, and I need help. But it was not acknowledged. They gaslit me to say, you're just making things up to grab attention. It's not true.
So you made some form of reconnection, though, on a certain level,
Yes,
not to a depth that I'm sensing from you would
I
be
have.
you ideally would like.
I have a lot, but it's been a one-way. Sadly.
That's what I sense from what
Yes.
you've said. How about you share your next poem, Hewn from a Rock? I believe that's what it's called.
Thank you. Yes. A stone alone, no purpose, no spark. Once paired or joined, strength, purpose intact. Its hard side shaved away by mighty currents of water, cut, shattered by metal blades, or crushed to granular matter. Creative keen eyes reveal the soft side in stones, objects, living or motionless, their purpose bountiful. In somber times, human perspective is amiss. So end goals not in sight, steps hasten your reach. Mind your soft side, rock hard or not. There's courage in being vulnerable when you can bend your heart and will, still strong as ever.
Mm-hmm. What are you trying to communicate through your poems?
Several things: to keep going, to practice self-care, self-love, and when you persevere, you will succeed.
So why did you accept the conversation for us to have tonight?
I'm here today to use the story of my own journey of survival, although it's still lifelong, of one hopeless person who's been told her whole life, my whole life, as useless and didn't matter, along with my poems, lyrics, and research, to inspire hope in you and others that survival is possible. There is a light on the other side. It's possible to escape. I did it on my own without family support. I want other victims to know and feel they're not alone and that they could survive too. It's my way of lending my hand and offering my hands to those who feel desperate and alone.
Well, let me read a comment in the chat. Miranda, sometimes friends can be family instead. We can choose our friends, but not our families.
Yes.
You are amazing. You have walked away and found another life. I admire you. Someone else, you've had impacted me in a way you'd relate to. I wrote a poem to you.
Oh, thank you.
So what's important for you, for people to feel in terms of a need to understand about other people who experience abuse, trauma, and mental health concerns?
Many things. Bullies and perpetrators need victims to feel alone and helpless. For my whole life, I accepted that I was misled to believe that I was merely a small, unimportant object, let alone a person, that I didn't deserve to be heard, and I was to amount to nothing. As a victim, I learned multiple times that it was okay to be mistreated, to be mistreated, deserted, left, disregarded, disrespected, and alone. I want us to help victims or their loved ones understand this way of thinking and beliefs that they have are the realities of the victims. I also want you to know that victims need sensitive and immediate intervention, and the loved ones and those who work in the field of assisting victims like yourself deserve vicarious trauma support.
Mhm.
I learned about that being a public servant.
The vicarious trauma.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked about that on previous conversations, and
I'll look that up.
yeah, if I can, well, I'll look through the playlist, and you do your thing, and I'll make sure you
Thank-
connect with that
Yes,
content for
thank you.
sure.
Mhm.
I want to ask, how is your son doing?
He amazingly managed well, living with his father. He worried me, it has worried me when I hear, but I had to dig to find out that the father lost his cool. That's what my son would say. And my son would say, don't worry that dad's just having his moment. But to me, I don't feel at ease at all when I'm on the phone with him and hear the father screaming at the top of his lungs. And to hear from my son, it's okay, mom, aunt, auntie, grandma, and grandpa are here. They will calm him down. I feel wronged. I feel that my son is wronged. I feel that the family should not and have been making a mistake in not getting help for his father, that they live up to it and expect to carry out the role of being the intervener. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's an environment that my son should be in.
I hear what you're saying, and in relation to the suggestion that they would have been best to give your ex, the father of your children,
Yeah.
the help he needs. He also has to take ownership of that. He
And
has to make that decision.
Sorry.
And right. And I mean, you have gone through all that you've gone through, and you have intersected with this to take control back from people who were, controlling you in many ways.
Mhm.
And you've empowered yourself with that. So you've taken ownership of that, and many other people, regardless of what we say and what we encourage them to do, you need to leave. It would be best to leave. Your life would be different if you left.
Yes.
Or if you did this. It falls on deaf ears unless the person in some way connects with that concept.
Yes.
And I got to do this for myself,
Yes.
let alone for other people.
And to add, I keep repeating to my son, and I have not succeeded in reaching my daughter, who's alienated from me for more than 4 years now, that my door is always open. They can come back. And they're adults now. Even when they were teenagers, they can choose to get out of that door. And my door is always open. But it's hard because I feel that they've been left to think that I'm the bad person, left to think that I'm teaching them bad ideas, left to think that I'm wrong in teaching and advocating for my children.
I will say, I hear that and I understand that. And maybe also from their mindset might be the sense that they're feeling controlled too, abused, marginalized,
Yes.
brainwashed in some way, that they have no option rather than to stay within where they're at, which is with their father and that relationship.
Mhm.
So until they get to a point like you, that's possibly the reality that will exist for an indefinite time period.
And one further thing, many participants probably can resonate with this. In my experience, from what I knew, women are not usually the ones who earn as much as men do. And we fear whether it's the case that we will home more than we're participating in the working world, that we could not afford and provide for ourselves and our loved ones. So it's to our disadvantage in a power struggle in that regard. And women and the children have often felt, I did feel and was manipulated to think that I would not make it if I left. My children probably have stayed because they think that their father would be the best person to provide for them.
That's a complicated thing, and you know your situation and your children best, for sure. You know, the goal is that maybe someday, one day, it'll be different. So there's a continued stigma.
Yes.
When people hear the words abuse, trauma, and mental health, what do you want to say about that?
Sorry, let me move my screen over here to read my answer to that in preparation. The problem isn't the person, but the background, lived experiences, possibly genetics and or medical conditions that need people to take time to find out more about, ask permission to help, determine if the intervention is immediate, and to offer help if safe to do so, and or find help for that person. That's what stigma is to me. Also, on top of that, I still experience stigma because my family would not acknowledge depression is depression. They only think that depression is sadness.
Yeah, it's possibly, I had a show a couple of weeks ago about looking to reframe the whole concept of mental health to possibly mindset health, because there's a stigma attached even with the word mental. You're mental. We have these idioms that we put out there, and they're generally negative.
Yes.
And when we restate them, it reinforces that negativity. So trying to find a way where the messaging can be seen more inviting and inclusive. And so, that's my idea, shifting the manner of how people resonate with words. So mindset health, for example.
Thank you.
What are you looking to happen from our conversation? I know you've mentioned some things. Is there something more specific about our conversation?
Awareness, hope, open dialogue, and sense of clarity. I don't wish anyone would go through the struggles I did alone. This is my way of helping, be it from sharing information, relating to my examples, or finding the voice that the victim may need to verbalize the feelings or he or she doesn't or cannot start describing with. To me, knowledge is power, and power is in numbers.
And I will add to that, power is when you can exercise it too. Because for me, power with knowledge, if it stays internalized and we don't put it into action,
yes,
to create the change we ideally want,
very well said,
it tends to be useless.
Yes.
So let's share. You've created a tool, I'll call it, a best practice called First Aid for Mental Illness.
Actually, no, I dare not take credit for that. I attended a 2-day course through my employer, but
Okay, all
no
right.
longer provided to us. It's basic training, just awareness training on mental health first aid. So they're very basic 5 steps when you're in a situation where someone is in distress. The acronym is spelled ALGEE.
Like algae?
Yes, the first A is assess the risk of suicide and or harm to the first aider. That is, let's say you are the first aider. The term assess means to decide how best to help, and the word harm refer to the risk of overdose, suicidal behavior, panic attack, reaction to traumatic events, or psychotic episode to the first aider. The second letter, L, is in the L of listening non-judgmentally. This is necessary to do to make it possible for the person in distress to talk freely and comfortably. The next letter, G, is in the phrase, give reassurance and information. The person distressed need you to help that person realize they have a real need for medical help, and to help them feel hopeful and positive about treatments so that they're not scared of something that's new and they don't know about, and to encourage them to reach out and get and accept that help. The fourth letter is to encourage the persons in distress to get appropriate professional help and to help them identify same as in professional help. The last letter is to encourage other supports and to help them find ways to help themselves through self-help strategies and or reaching out to family, friends, and other avenues of supports.
And that's the algae. A-L.
A-L,
Go ahead, you do.
yes, ALGEE. Assess, listen, give reassurance and information, encourage, and encourage other supports.
Mhm. So what do you want people to do who are experiencing any of abuse, trauma, or mental illness or mental health issues?
Your feelings and experience of abuse, trauma, mental illness are real, need attention, and are medical attention. And are medical conditions. The sooner the better to get them addressed. That you must get out of any danger safely and with a plan. That you need to arm yourself with knowledge and like you said earlier, to exercise that knowledge. Don't hesitate to call for help or distress phone line, to rely on yourself. You are capable of relying on yourself within reason, and you can reach loved ones where possible and or call emergency services personnel if you're in danger.
Would you happen to have any resources that you can suggest?
I've listed more than 10, but I don't know, we're kind of over time. I can share some.
Walk along with me. Just
Okay.
present what you will.
Thank you. First thing now, internet is at our fingertips. Google the words provincial mental health supports. You get so much information there. Your family doctor is a great resource. Do the 10-session mindfulness meditation based group that I mentioned earlier. That I had done through the Catholic Family Services Peel Dufferin, and they are located in Brampton as well as Mississauga. The program is called the Circle of Healing. continually write and journal, of course. And several other things are using self-affirmation tools, such as Louise Hay's YouTube videos, personal bill of rights, use of visualization and meditation tools. I have 3 that I came across. One is called grounding and centering. Another one is autogenic relaxation tool. And the last one is the river living with emotion. I have some other ones. I even did, through the help of my family doctor, cognitive behavior therapy. But if someone Google ability and ability end with I instead of Y, and then the letters CBT, short for cognitive behavior therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are others, use self-esteem boosters.
So how are you feeling at this time now that you've gone through this experience together?
I can breathe
Yeah.
now. Thank you. And you've been amazing guiding me through this. Thank you.
It's not about me, it's about you. I'm shifting the focus. You are the focus.
Thank you.
And I know from what you're saying that, I found that people will resonate with the journey to go into the vulnerability, the spaces of the unknown, their fear,
Mhm,
when they feel they can be supported
mhm.
along that journey.
Yes.
And that's why I frame things, walk along with me, let's walk together. I'm not leading you. I'm not directing you. You're the guide. And I'm walking along to help.
You're
You
very
get,
humble.
well, uh, well,
Modest.
don't make me blush. Come on. What's next for you?
Hopefully more publications of my writing or poetry lyrics. Developing myself, of course, pursuing my writing that fix my health problems, both physically and mentally. Keep my job to support myself, because with this neck disability, I don't know whether I have a job for long term. And the last major thing would be to unlearn the bad things. Easier said than done. I have not been able to make big grounds on that. It's unlearning what I've internalized. That's what I'm referring to. It's a very hard exercise to do. And hopefully, if I may be hopeful, someday, hope to get help. Hoping somebody could find me a musician to write melodies for what I could write. And I've always dreamed to, like my friend Sheila, she also pitched in to chime into this talk. She's done amazingly to do her memoir and also develop a website for the cause of helping abuse victims. And that has always been my dream.
Well, I've heard or written from the chat. There's a couple possibilities about the melody writer.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We can call you Miranda Melody. I don't know.
Thank you. Hope so.
Just put that out there. Do you sing?
No, not at all. I would not dare to hum.
You never know until you try.
Oh, well, thank you.
Nevertheless, we'll see how we can help facilitate some kind of opportunity to create that space, to expand the space, to deepen the space, or the intention and purpose that you're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anybody from the crowd, as we close out for today, have anything to share or speak to? There's a comment now. Powerful conversation tonight. Thank you very much for the awareness, advocacy, and the sharing of your experience. May the healing journey continue to be positive, strong, hopeful, and fulfilling. You matter. Your journey matters. And then
Thank you, Laura.
this was enlightening as well. You know, and what we'll do is we will get the recording, and this will be uploaded to Fenton Mediation, and then it will be accessible for anybody. And then, you know, it's an opportunity for you to use it as a tool, a means to help spread the word, spread the messaging that you're seeking to help support others with from your lived experience, because you put yourself in a very vulnerable space tonight. And
Yes.
you know,
Thank you.
and that's a power.
Oh, thank you.
That's a power. That's, you know, it's not about seeing it as a weakness. I teach a couple of courses, and I really promote in there about going into your vulnerable spaces.
Mhm.
That's where you can actually experience the greatest opportunity with growth and development.
Mhm.
When we avoid and evade, go around them,
Mhm.
or deny their existence, we never get the opportunity to actually feel the essence of the lived experience and how to reframe it for a positive.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was not checking the chat. Is there any way I look at the chat after?
Laura, I don't know what you can say about that. You want to put something in the chat and I can reference that. Nevertheless, because I know you've been focusing on us,
Yes.
and your content, and I know that helps you keep organized.
Yes. Thank you.
So Laura has said I will send it.
Oh, awesome.
So she'll
Thank you.
have a way to eternalize it, and then have a way for you to get access to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Miranda, it's been great to see you again. It's been a few years for us,
Yes.
and I'm glad
Absolute honor. Thank you very, very much.
I'm glad to be reconnected, and I'm really glad to be a means for you to get your messaging out.
Thank you very much. I feel very humbled, and I feel very blessed that I got this opportunity.
You are blessed. You are a blessing.
Thank you. No, I feel blessed.
I'm shifting it back to you.
Yes, yes.
It's okay to take that. Allow yourself that opportunity. If I can impose that in some way, it's meant in the best intentions.
Yes, thank you.
You can be your own power. You are your best power.
I still have difficulty accepting compliments.
I hear you. I appreciate that. I process that. I make sense of that too.
Yes, thank you.
Though not equating it to your lived experiences, for sure. So if we don't have anything, thanks for sharing. Continue to be strong and blessed. So we're going to say, we're going to say, I'm not going to say goodbye. We're going to say see you next time.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
All right. So we'll click off. Laura, do your thing, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a good night.